Welcome back to the Zach Tapes. I'm Zach, and today we're going to be looking at the movie Don't Worry, Darling. Before we get into it, I just wanted to say I'm not going to be talking about any of the controversies surrounding this movie. I'm just going to be talking about the movie as a movie. With that out of the way, I've seen this movie so many times. When I was in high school, we had a final project where we had to watch a movie for an entire semester and do the different stuff with it, like mise en scène, the lighting, the all the stuff. And I chose Don't Worry, Darling. So obviously, it's one of my top 4 movies of all time. Anyways, our main characters are going to be this couple called Jack, who is played by Harry Styles, and Alice, who's played by Florence Pugh. The two live in a town called Victory. All the men in this town go to work, while the women play the part of quintessential 1950s housewives, and they cook, clean, hang out, go shopping with all the other wives who are also at home. All the men work at the same company that shares the town's name, creatively dubbed the Victory Project. I'm just going to go ahead and skip to the first pool party scene because nothing really happens in between. But all these couples have gathered at the CEO/founder's house. His name is Frank, and they are there to welcome a new couple to Victory, the Johnsons. Jack and his friend Dean are getting to know the new guy Bill, when Bill mentions not having talked to Frank much, and Dean, he's come into consciousness or something. Dean says, Frank doesn't have to talk to you. You have no idea how extraordinary he is or what he can do. You're lucky to even know who he is, let alone be standing in his house. Which is obviously so fucking out of pocket, but Jack just sits there and is like, yeah, facts, bro. Like it's normal or something. After Dean's weird rants, Frank's wife Shelley introduces us to what the Victory Project is, sort of. She says that she is glad that there's another couple there who can learn from Frank and that they get to, quote, join this mission and become part of this family. The way she's saying it, you'd think she's in a large leather chair, stroking a white cat or something. She continues that Frank has built something truly remarkable and that what he has built is a different way, a better way. Again, like a villain monologue or something. Gemma Chan is, incredible. Shelley then gets interrupted by a woman named Margaret, where Margaret says, why are we here? We shouldn't be here. And this all seems pretty weird to the rest of the people at the party. They all kind of look at her quizzically, and Frank comes and, he's bouncing off that. Why the hell are we here?
Why, when this landscape can seem so barren, so hard, so dusty, so worthless? Why not run? Why not go back to safety, status quo, where it's safe, where we should be? No, we choose to stand our ground, right? To look harder, to dig deeper, to mine that pure, unbridled potential, that gem of limitless and unimaginable value. It's just too easy to get distracted by what seems. Much more difficult, braver, I would say.
Braver, frankly braver. Moving on from Mr. President, we get the next scene where Alice and her friends Bunny and Peg are out shopping. This scene is just to explain why Margaret was acting so weird at the party. The story is that Margaret and her son were out and about one day when Margaret saw something weird in the desert and they went to go check it out. The movie doesn't specifically tell us what happened, but only Margaret returned that day. Bunny says that she basically got what she deserved and that they shouldn't go out there because it isn't safe, and they didn't know what could happen, and neither did Margaret. There's then an earthquake, and Bunny says, at least we know they're getting work down there, referring to this mole tunnel where the men go to work. It's they all drive in and I don't know how it works, but Peg says she always wonders what they're doing at work. She says she knows they tell them it's develop development of progressive materials, but that her husband sometimes suggests that they're making weapons. Bunny shoots this down real quick, like she's trying to cover something up. Foreshadowing. Bunny continues, "We're all here because we believe in the mission." Well, what is the mission? I know it's a thriller, and I know it's supposed to be cryptic, but it's like, ugh. And then Alice has this episode while Bunny is still talking. She then wakes up in bed with Jack, and it disorients, like the time skip disorients both the viewer and Alice. Her confusion continues into the next day when she's cleaning and listening to Frank's radio hour. More like Frank's propaganda hour, but whatever. He says, "I want you to focus on the sacrifices you make by standing still, by not going after what you know you are owed, by giving up." Which is the most red pill alpha male bullshit I've ever heard in my life. He pisses me off. I hate Frank. It's like basically taking the curiosity that Peg and Alice were having the other day shopping and just being like, "No, shut up. Almost like they're being watched or something. Next, we see Alice on the trolley. We learn that she's not going to go shopping today, but she's trying to get out of the house, so she's going to go for a trolley ride. She then sees a plane in the sky that looks like it's going to crash. Like it's smoking and all this stuff. It glitches or something, like it's going to a force field. There's like this barrier we can't see. After Alice sees the plane go down, she's obviously freaking out, like exasperated, yelling a little, like as anyone would be. That's a totally normal thought. And the driver is just doing like the thing that all the men in this town do, which is like downplay, destroy, like whatever the opposite of girl boss gatekeep gaslight is. Like it's like that, but like ugh. So yeah, he talks on Alice. He's like, "I don't think you saw what you saw. You're wrong." He's like invalidating her, all this stuff. So cool. Love that for him. He goes on to tell Alice that he doesn't drive that way, and we have to stay here, where it's safe. Because the thriller, it's all about repetition. He has to say exactly what Bunny said so that Alice feels like she's going crazy. Obviously, Alice isn't just gonna, like, let this go. She goes out into the desert alone and goes and looks for the plane. We see her deeper in the desert now. She's clearly heat-stricken. She's, like, calling out for help to people who aren't there. But she's made it to this hill where there's this glass dome on top. Which you might remember from earlier, it is where the guys go to leave, except Alice is going at it, like, from a different way. So she's walking up the side of it instead of going and driving under it. She touches the mirrors that cover the entirety of this dome, and the picture goes red, and, like, you can tell that it's about to, like she's about to have another, like, episode, and, like, the Dune music starts, you know, and then it cuts to another one of the weird, like, let's cut between, like, the iris, the blood drop, the dancers, but this time you can hear Frank talking in the background. We time skip again, further disorienting Alice and the viewer, like I said before. This time, Alice wakes up to Jack making her dinner. She goes out and into the kitchen and starts talking to him about, like, what happened. He's like, "Yeah, when you were home, you were in bed. I thought you just, like, took a nap or something." She's like, "No, I was out in the desert, and a plane crashed." And Jack is like, "I think you're wrong. I don't think there was a plane crash. I think I would have known if there was a plane crash. Stop lying." The men in this town love a good gaslight. Alice ends up giving in and, like, admitting that, like, "Yeah, I probably just had a weird dream. It was, like, a bad dream. Must have been. That was weird." And she, like, gives in to Jack. The next day, we see Alice again listening to Frank's radio hour. This time, her house, like, glitches and starts squishing her like a video game, kind of like a saw trap where, like, the walls are, like, they go together. That's what's happening. After Alice gets squished, she answers the phone, and it's a phone call from Margaret. Margaret says, "You went out there. You saw it. They're lying to all of us. No one asked any questions. We can't stay here anymore, Alice." And then she starts crying. She goes, "I'm not crazy." And then Alice like goes like does a full 180 and starts being a man of this town. Is like, you're being crazy. You need to stop this. You're being ridiculous. And then the next scene is Alice at dance class, and it's like, okay, we're refreshed. She's gonna go to dance class, but then she sees Margaret in the mirror at dance class where she's like trying to break out. I think this like shows like from the phone call to this, it shows like Margaret's like, okay, she's not gonna listen to me, so I have to like figure it out somehow, and so she's like manipulating like the fabric. You know what I mean? Like she's like fucking with all of it to try and get Alice to see her way. After that though, everything goes back to normal, so Alice just looks crazy because no one else saw Margaret in the mirrors, obviously. Alice then runs home from dance class. Like she runs from like wherever the dance, like all the way back to her house, where she sees Margaret on the roof of her house, where she proceeds to slit her throat and fall off the roof, right? Alice then gets like taken away from the scene by these like Squid Game looking motherfuckers. We skip to nighttime where Alice and Jack are talking about the day's events. And Alice is like, I saw it. And Jack's like, I don't know what to tell you. Ted is with her at the hospital right now. He said she needs a few stitches, that she slipped cleaning a window. It was an accident. And all while Alice is like... Jack continues to call her crazy and is like putting her down, and she's like, don't get hysterical. Alice breaks again and is like, she was my friend and she came to me for help and I ignored her. Trying to be vulnerable, trying to get him to see her point of view, and then he just keeps going saying, it's no one's fault, it was an accident. Like, oh my god, that's not what she asked. Also, if you've seen Stepford Wives, you're probably drawing a few parallels like I was, but I swear it's slightly different. Okay, I'm gonna skip ahead a bit to the next party. Alice and Jack are getting ready. Alice is still in the bath, whereas, like, Jack is fully ready. Jack sits on the side of the tub and decides to drop a bomb, really. He's like, Alice, I love you. What if we had a baby? And she's like, what? He's like, I love you so much. I want more of you. And she's like, pause. What did you just say? And it's like, you're not even gonna be home that often. You guys like your lives now. I don't think, I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say he would not be a great dad. Just my thought. Just a thought. Okay. Anyways, think Great Gatsby party. There's like, they're all wearing white tuxes. There's like a burlesque show where all the men lose it because obviously that's like the whole plot of this movie is guys gonna be dudes. Then Jack gets a big boy, big man promotion, and then you get this. What the hell is that? While Jack is doing some of the gayest shit I've ever seen in my life, we're cut back to Alice in the bathroom, bearing her soul pretty much to Bunny. She's saying, we gotta go. Margaret was right. I saw it out there in the desert. When I touched it, I saw. And Bunny, and then it like zooms in on Bunny and she's like, oh no. Bunny continues, you went to headquarters, the one thing they ask us to respect, which is like incorrect. They have so many rules for you guys, like you don't even realize it, I think. You're acting like a child. You're acting just like Margaret. And then Alice is like, then they do the most Nixon Waco ass shit. Whose world is this? Ours. Whose world is this? Ours. After that, say it with me now, another party. I can just picture the writers sitting around a table like, guys, we really need a plot device. Oh, I've got it. They can have a party. Oh, shoot, guys, we need another plot device. Oh, I got it. They should have a party. Like, come on, there's other things where people do stuff together. Like, the shopping was a good one. They can, like, go for a walk or something. Just, like, stop throwing parties. This party is at Alice and Jack's house. And it starts out with all the guys being like, is he coming? Is he coming? And Jack's being like, yeah, I think he's coming. And then we find out that his Big Daddy, Big Boy Frank, founder of the Victory Project, is coming to their humble house party, which is like the biggest hullabaloo, I guess, of all. Because, like, Frank doesn't go to anything, I guess. While Alice is in the kitchen prepping dinner, Frank comes in and talks to her. He's like, I'm sorry Bunny didn't believe you, which is like, ooh. And then he's like, but then again, you didn't believe Margaret. Ooh. And then he ends it with like, well, why should anyone believe you? And at that point, you really just want to strangle him. And then this next part, I'm just going to play for you because when I watched this movie, it made me want to throw up. So here you go.
My God, you fascinate me. Because I've been waiting for someone like you, someone to challenge me. No great man has changed the course of history without being pushed to the limits of his potential. And you push me. Yeah. I do hope you keep going. And yet here you are, preparing dinner. Like a good girl.
Chris Pine, hats off to you, sir, because, like, that, good job, buddy. The storytelling of the scene is insane, because he is admitting to her that, like, yeah, you're fucking with the stuff here, and I'm gonna let you, I guess. And he's, like, letting her know that something is afoot, but at the same time, he's like, shut the fuck up. And it's also crazy because this is showing, he's only telling her that she's right. So she's gonna look crazy to all the other people at the party when she's like, I see, I was right. And they're all like, what? So finally, dinner is served, and Alice takes Jack's seat at the head of the table across from Frank at the other side of the table. And it's like, ooh, the tension is brewing because she's found this, like, new power, this almost, like, invincibility almost, to, like, see Frank as an equal and be able to, like, take jabs at him, which she takes full advantage of, by the way. She asks Violet, the new girl from the pool party, like, where are you from? And she answers, I'm from Philadelphia. And you can tell Alice does not care about this answer, she just wanted to hear Violet say it out loud so that she could, like, say her next point, which is, wow, most of the women here are from Philly, or Chicago, or Baltimore. And she continues drawing these parallels of, like, they all went on the same honeymoons, they all met in the same place, they all took the same vacations. And everyone at the party is like, well, those are popular vacations. That's a popular honeymoon spot. I loved how they met. I would have loved to meet my husband like that. Blah, blah, blah. Frank does a lot more gaslighting after Alice goes on this tirade of, like, no, I think you're wrong and you should stay in your place, little lady. Like... And he's like, he mentions how Bunny is not there, and he's like stirring the pot in general, right? Meanwhile, Frank's wife is like deep in thought, foreshadowing, in consideration really of like what she knows of what like could come of everything that's happening right now. She then delivers another bone-shattering monologue where the general gist of it is like, you're crazy. You take everything for granted, all the stuff we gave you, like, why did you invite us here only to tear us down? And it's like, ugh. After the party, Alice and Jack talk it out, and Alice convinces Jack to leave Victory. They get all packed and into the car, but Jack won't turn the car on. Because it's never that easy, right? The movie would be so utterly boring if, like, they just left right now. So obviously... Alice then gets taken away by those same Squid Game guys that took away Margaret. This is also one of the times, almost shot for shot, where it's like a Stepford Wives ripoff. But the husband is so much better in Stepford Wives than Jack is. So there's there's obviously, this is like if Stepford Wives wasn't a comedy, essentially. Anyway, it's when Alice gets taken away that we get an insight into her life before Victory. This whole time we've been led to believe that Victory is this like 1950s Palm Springs-esque town where everything is fine. But we learn that before this, it's modern day. Alice is a surgeon at a hospital where she does like 30-hour stints, and that's like how this all started, is because Jack in the real world ended up losing his job, and Alice was like, okay, I'll take over, I'll get some extra shifts at the hospital, no worries, I love you. And then she like starts doing like long hours at the hospital, and that's where Jack begins to like hate her, essentially. He starts going on Reddit and like 4chan-esque websites, like you can't really see, and that's where he learns about Frank and Victory and like falls down the rabbit hole, right? But before we get any information further than that, it flashes back to Victory and Alice is having her homecoming. Her and Bunny are friends again. The world is bright, full of opportunities, and everything's back to normal. It's normal, right? No, of course not. Alice now having the flashbacks of going into Victory, how Jack is like this disgusting guy.
Name, Jack Chambers. Age, 29. Blood type, O negative. Psychological evaluation, fair. Chosen nationality, British. Chosen wife, Alice Warm. Pre-existing relationship, yes.
Who has chosen to keep her in a coma state, to have her all to himself, how she's being held captive in her own home by this fucking gross guy who chooses his happiness over her own free will. And so now that Alice realizes what's happening, like fully, she starts freaking out. Like, warranted, you're allowed. It'd be fucking crazy if you just like woke up one day and were like, holy shit, none of this is real and my husband's disgusting. She starts talking to Jack, who, like, I guess immediately knows the jig is up, and, like, just starts being like, you were gone all the time, and you wouldn't cook me dinner. Those are, like, his two reasons that we see in this whole thing, is, like, she works at the hospital saving people's lives, and after working at the hospital, she won't cook me dinner. How dare she? And he keeps like going, he's like, I gave this all to you. I have to leave and go to work and I hate it. And you get to stay here and live where it's perfect. Insert gaslight here. Don't you want to be perfect with me? And it's like, that's Jack. Choking him. Alice ends up killing Jack, and it's like this like Joker almost, like she takes a glass and like smashes it over his head, and now he's dead. I guess that's it. He's a little fragile baby man, and the fucking rocks glass killed him. Anyways, Bunny shows up and is in total disbelief at like what she's seeing. She shows up and is like, Alice, you have to go. When a man dies in Victory, he dies in real life, and they are gonna send people to kill your body in real life. This is also when Bunny explains to Alice that she's known the whole time that she's plugged into Victory. She is like, yeah, I chose this. My kids are here. I didn't lose them in here. And it's like, it's another Stepford Wives parallel, just worse. Because like, if you've seen Stepford Wives, you know what I'm talking about. But it's just like, it's so close. It hurts my brain. Alice walks outside where her neighbors have like gathered because there's these alarms going off, and everyone like knows, I guess. Word spreads pretty fast in Victory. Alice is now in a James Bond level car chase with the guys in red, trying to get to the exit of Victory. We then, it cuts away from the car chase to Frank on the phone. I would presume he's talking to the guys in red, because he's like, don't let her get out. Don't let her escape. And then he, hangs up all frustrated, and he turns around, only for Shelley to be standing there with a knife.
You stupid, stupid man.
Iconic. It's the guy who's been gaslighting you, using you for all these years, yes, kill him, he deserves it, A+ Shelley. We cut back to Alice, where she has made it to the hill that headquarters is on, that she was on before. She unfortunately ends up crashing the car into a ditch off the side of the hill, and so she starts booking it barefooted up to the top. And she makes it, and she touches, and it cuts to this kind of Barbie-esque montage where she's dancing Free Will in a living room, and it cuts, but it splices with the dancers, the synchronized dancers, and clips of 1950s housewives vacuuming and doing the dishes and stuff. It then cuts to black, and not unlike Hamilton, we hear a gasp, and Alice waking up from her coma state. And that's where we're left. I think that Don't Worry Darling definitely has its faults, but it is nonetheless a captivating story about codependency and social contracts. But right now, let's take a Reddit break. Hey guys, and welcome to Reddit time. I am Zach, but in a gray hoodie. Today we're going to be taking a look at what Reddit thought of the movie Don't Worry Darling. It's from Natural Doctor 485. To me, it was also, and most importantly, about control and power dynamics. Jack feels emasculated by the idea of not being able to provide while his girlfriend is literally keeping the lights up and putting food on the table. She can't also be the doting, submissive wife he wants because, she's tired from grinding for them to keep a roof over their heads. The scorn of being a man supported by his girlfriend with no job or prospects. The low self-esteem made him fall down that rabbit hole and project the absence of happiness and existence on Alice and make the choices to live in that fever dream for her. So yeah, at the end of... Alice figures it out. She remembers. Jack's I gave this all to you. I have to go out there and work all the time. But you get to stay here. It's a dream here. Don't you want to live the dream with me or something? And that's very the controlling aspect of it. I think of this film akin a lot to Challengers, where it's just a lot of social dynamics are happening at once, and the whole story is trying to figure out what those are and how it's destroying their livelihoods together. The next one we have is from 3D Pimp, and it says, I hate when story characters don't do things normal people would do, like ask questions. Why can't we leave a certain area, or what's so dangerous out there, etc. And I think that, a lot of people on Reddit, this man has never thought of anyone else's perspective, frankly, because when you do think about the control dynamics and of what she's in, it's all run by her husband. So in asking those questions, she is undermining his authority, and we see that happen in the end. But in the beginning, she just wants to be this loving wife because that's what she's been told to think. That's what they've all been told. They want to keep up appearances. She doesn't want to ask him questions because then it would all come crumbling down like it does. But you know what I mean? All of her life basically comes from him. So by asking him those questions and making him scared, that puts her life in danger as well. Just a little perspective, which people on Reddit don't often have. But finally, we have this question from Bob Dylan Blues. Who's cleaning up the filth? These people need water. He's talking about when Alice is in the real world strapped up to Victory. These people need to eat, pee, and use the restroom. They will get sick. Who cleans the filth? What happens when the women's bodies become weak from laying in bed all day? How often do they change the sheets? As far as I can remember, this person was in a normal bed. So what happens when they need to make adjustments and remove the woman from the bed? Do they even explain the food? How does the guy need to eat in real life and fake eat in the simulation? How exactly are women getting proper nourishment? So I think he just forgot because I just watched the movie yesterday again, so Alice is hooked up to an IV, so I just assume that's how she's getting her nutrients. And he also like waters her via washcloth. We see him eating tuna outside of Victory, which I think is how he's getting by. I don't think when they eat in the simulation, they get any nourishment from it. It's just like the feeling, like a placebo effect in actuality. And I don't think she was being clean, because as you can see, there's a section where they open her like anti atrophy like equipment socks, and she's all like bruised and battered, and I don't think he's taking really good care of her. And I think that's the point, where he's pretty much abusing her in real life and in the fake world. So, and it's just a movie, like some stuff isn't going to get explained, so you can just like think that she goes to the bathroom via like colostomy bag. Just have your own opinions, have your own thoughts on the matter. But that was Reddit time. I'll see you back in the studio. Thank you all for coming along with me to review and look at one of my favorite movies. Subscribe and turn on those post notifications so next week we can talk about a new movie. And I'll see you guys next time. Toodles.